Hey everyone, how's it going? Delrith here, bringing you another rapid-fire review, this time for the game The Surge 2. The Surge 2 was developed by Deck 13 and published by Focus Home Interactive, and it's currently available on the PS4, Xbox, and PC platforms. So before I get started, I just want to get this off my chest, especially since it's something a lot of people have asked about. Yes, I absolutely hated the first Surge game. I don't think hate is a strong enough word. And actually, come to think of it, I believe my Steam review I wrote is still up and still getting read. And at some point, I believe it was the highest viewed one on Steam in general. I thought the original Surge game was clunky, unpolished, and had awful difficulty, if you could even call it that, with extremely poor level design tossed in, and it was just unfun at launch. I tore it apart and genuinely thought that it was worse than Lords of the Fallen, their previous game of the type at the time, and suggested that nobody play it unless it was gotten at an extremely cheap price. Going into the Surge 2, I honestly didn't know what to expect, and all expectations in general were honestly kinda low. But I have to say that I was blown away at how much progress and how much better this game is in general. It's not the shit show that I thought it was going to be, and actually it's quite the opposite. Surge 2 follows directly after the storyline of the first game, with the nanite menace being unleashed upon humanity and the disease known as defrag taking countless lives, destroying society as we know it. Massive changes have taken place, and major factions like AID have popped up to try and deal with the situation, be it finding a cure or declaring martial law or what have you. You're a plane crash survivor, tossed right into the fray and madness resulting from the nanite swarms, having to fight your way through enemies both augmented and corrupted to figure out what the hell is going on and how you fit into everything that's happening. Visually, it's a huge upgrade from the previous game. It takes place in a war-torn, nanite-strewn hell of a city called Jericho, with the various areas you roam through being different districts. You'll come across multiple areas throughout your play where the nanites have begun to merge and collide with man-made structures and technology, creating weird-ass amalgams that honestly just look pretty freaking neato. I love the aesthetic and the whole visual presentation of Jericho itself. It genuinely gives off this whole anarchy vibe. Police areas looking locked down with martial law and giant barricades, and bandit areas being graffitied to high hell and torn apart, looted and what have you, and nanite areas looking completely alien and out of this world. I gotta give huge props to the level design. Each level that you'll explore has a ton of hidden areas and hidden loot, and like a dozen or so shortcuts to unlock that lead back to your bonfire. I was genuinely eager to explore at all times. In the previous game, I really felt like the levels were tedious, unenjoyable, and had horrible backtracking problems, but it's all been exceptionally streamlined, and I never got bored of looking around and figuring out each and every layout to its maximum extent. The equipment that you use all looks great, and honestly my favorite part of the game, with armor being grafted visually to an exo rig that you get implanted on yourself early on. Each set of armor is visually unique and just looks superb, so I found myself doing the best I could to collect each set completely just for the sake of having the different designs. A lot of the weapons look super gnarly as well, and there's no shortage of them, with variants of some having things like added elemental effects and looks, and some weapons even being twisted into cool-ass nanite versions of themselves. I genuinely had problems deciding which one I liked the most and which ones I wanted to use throughout my playthrough, which isn't a bad thing in the slightest. Enemies, given the fact that they're the source of all this badass equipment, look pretty damn good, and the special nanite-based enemies aren't unimpressive in the slightest either. I ain't shooting a laser, what the fuck? Bosses all look rad and have unique models for the most part too, which is great, some of them looking just incredible, and I was excited in my playthrough to see them evolve as I progressed. One of the major gripes I had with the first game was that all the animations were clunky and ugly and just looked janky, and I can't say that about any of the animations in the Surge 2, even if I tried to find ones that look bad. They all just look smooth and are generally well done, with each of the different weapon types all having their own attacks and animations themselves. Enemies have really good hit feedback animations when you stagger them with impact, really giving a solid feel to your hits as when you're using the bigger styles. The dodging and parrying animations also look fantastic, and really I could talk about all of them, but the point is, the game's visuals are all solid. So props to the devs on really improving and doing far better in that regard this second time around. And as far as the voice acting goes, it wasn't awful or extremely basic in any way whatsoever, with a good number of the NPCs having multiple voice lines and dialogue options for you to choose and go through when you're speaking with them. Another thing I appreciated, as it fills in a lot of lore and what's going on as you progress through the game. You also come across almost 100 different audio recordings to listen through as you play, each one being fairly competent and none of them being unpleasant to just sit and have playing idly.
Welcome to best clinic this side of Seaside Court, Tavarish. Feeling bit sickly?
In a technical aspect, though, the Surge 2 definitely suffers, with a lot of crashes being reported and a massive amount of FPS issues being present in both the PC and the console versions. Personally, I was having a lot of FPS issues in several areas of the game, and given how freaking powerful my PC is, that's just entirely unacceptable. I was going down to 30 FPS quite frequently and getting stutters in numerous areas. Maybe it has to do with being Vulkan-based and not DirectX, but either way, the optimization is lacking, and it's something they'll definitely need to work on in the immediate future. Combat plays out like a lot of other combat action RPGs of this style, with you being able to utilize things like heavy attacks, light attacks, parries, and blocking, all of which feel pretty good. You'll be doing a lot of dodging too, like you did in the previous Surge, but it feels far less mandatory, allowing you to even do things like stack stability or poise or whatever you want to call it, and overpowered the typical enemies of the game. I liked the number of ways you could approach each situation, swapping out gear on the fly to fit the enemy type you were going up against. Enemies, of course, have armored locations, arms, legs, chest, head, each offering a specific drop if you utilize the game's execution mechanic. This mechanic, which is honestly one of the most satisfying mechanics of any game of this sort I have ever played, involves you targeting individual parts of a bad guy and literally ripping their limbs off to steal their equipment. Want a dude's weapon and arm gear? Rip off his arms. You want his helmet? Kick his head off. You want those sweet shoes? Tear them legs off. It's just incredibly satisfying. It even carries over into when you're fighting bosses. It's just great. Oh my god, it just breaks his arm. Oh, that's brutal. I can literally just total that dude's arms. Gear and weapons can, of course, be upgraded, each with parts you get as an extra drop from these dismemberment executions. If you really want to upgrade a weapon, just keep chopping arms off. It's a super simple and easy to understand process that never gets old at any moment, as each weapon type offers a different set of execution animations, each one brutal in their own regard. A number of bosses will also have alternate kills and secret methods of dealing with them, rewarding you with a unique upgraded version of their boss weapon when they're defeated in a special way. The first real boss will give you a pair of claw weapons, but if you defeat him by breaking all of his parts before you kill him, he'll reward you with unique flaming poison claw things, just to name one example. I enjoy this mechanic, and honestly it warrants another playthrough just to experiment with the kills, so I highly suggest anyone that is playing right now to attempt to find each and every one. Throughout play, you'll also be leveling up with the scrap you find around, each level giving you 2 skill points that you can dump into either health, stamina, or battery efficiency. On top of those skill points, leveling up will raise your power core capacity by 1, allowing you to socket more implants into your character. Implants are basically skill enhancers that you'll get from everywhere, enemies, exploration, quest rewards, you name it, each one doing something special that further allows you to customize your playstyle and build. At the end of my playthrough, most of the ones I had implanted simply boosted elemental attacks and status effects, and I was causing people to explode into flames whenever I punched them. It was pretty sweet. The story itself isn't half bad either, with my entire playthrough taking me about 20 hours, although that's with a good amount of grinding. And the characters you interact with along the way are good enough to hold everything together. It's satisfying overall, and I had no complaints about the final bosses or any of the twists the game had throughout, which is a lot more than I can say about the first Surge. God, it sucked. This game already feels a lot better. A lot better combat-wise than the first game. The first game was so rigid and clunky. This feels like actually decent. One of the best parts of the story itself was that you can kill a lot of the quest givers, with your actions and decisions changing how certain things play out and even altering the rewards you get for completing quests. Personally, I just kind of ended up murdering everyone and anyone I could, especially if they had cool gear, but hey, that's just how I roll.
Does it now? You're welcome to browse for better deals.
Should I go with this guy's quest? Nah, fuck you.
What the? Another trail.
Overall, I gotta say the Surge 2 is entirely enjoyable. It's got solid mechanics, it looks great, and has decent story, with all the little extra fun things like the executions just making it all the more awesome to play through at least one time. It's a real shame that it's got an absolutely awful situation going on with bad FPS issues, crashes, technical problems, save corruption, and God knows what else, because honestly, it's a massive improvement over the previous game, and I have to fully suggest that people eventually give it a shot. In the end, I'm going to give the Surge 2 a solid 8 out of 10. I enjoyed my playthrough, and I'm probably going to end up going through the entire game once more in the NG Plus mode that it offers. That's going to be it for this rapid fire review. If you liked it, do me a solid and hit that like button and subscribe. And if you're already subscribed, ring the bell to get notifications on new videos in the future. Oh yeah, and if you like the rapid fire reviews or would like to see when I'm doing them live on Twitch, you can head over to my Twitter at AJSADelrith and give me a follow. I'd appreciate it. And in regard to the Twitter as well, I would really like if more people go over and follow on Twitter. One of the best parts of doing these reviews is asking you while I'm writing them if you have any feedback or concerns or things that I didn't do or things that I missed so that they can go into review and make it better for everyone overall. So again, please go check me out on Twitter at AJSA with Delrith, and until the next video, I'll be seeing ya.